Chapter 3, Submission Materials. Why don't they want to see my actual work? So much better in person. People in the art world love seeing art in person. It's why they do what they do. Still, there are many reasons they'd rather see a submission first. Here are a few. Time. Many submission reviews are consolidated and scheduled. If everyone reviewed work in person every day, there wouldn't be time to do anything else. Logistics. Rarely is one person the sole decision maker. Usually a few people need to get together to make important evaluations. Sensitivity. Most art professionals want to digest the work and give it a few moments to sink in before stating an opinion. Having you there forces a rash judgment. And now a few reasons why you shouldn't want anyone to look at unsolicited original artwork. Perception. Walking into a gallery with unique artwork creates the illusion that you don't care if your pieces get damaged. Curators, gallerists, and collectors think of artwork as precious. You should too. Loss. If you bring actual artwork and leave it for someone to review, you may never see it again. Accidents do happen. Self-respect. Do you really want to hear what they think when you arrive unannounced and give them no time to prepare? Just about every professional opportunity you come across will begin with some sort of submission. Residency programs and foundations require specific application materials. Galleries often ask for standard packages. A curator may just want to see a few images of your current work. Whatever the request, you'll need to submit at least one of the following items: images, a resume, press clippings, a statement, and a cover letter. Rarely, if ever, will someone ask to see actual work as the introduction to your practice. That's why your submission is supposed to give as accurate an idea of you and your work as anyone could get without doing a studio visit. Because most of these materials take time to prepare well, you should start working on them now and keep them up to date as your career progresses. Don't wait on this. Your submission will often be the first impression you make, the first exposure someone will have to your work, the first chance to make a sale. Creating a solid professional submission materials will therefore save you a lot of time and stress down the road. Sometimes you'll learn of an opportunity at the last minute and you'll need to rush an application out the door. Or you might meet a dealer who unexpectedly asks to see your work. This is not when you want to compose an artist statement from scratch or confirm the selling of the names in your resume. Expect to tailor every submission for every application, since each one will be different, even if you're applying for the same residency program for the third year in a row. For example, you'll need to update your images to show how your work is developed. Because some places ask for digital submissions while others prefer physical ones, you need to have both ready to go. Your digital materials are just that, digital files that you can easily email or upload. Your physical materials are hard copies that you can print from your digital files. Here are the most common components of a submission for galleries, residencies, and almost anywhere else you'll be sending your work. See Chapter 6 for additional materials you need to submit when applying for grants and residencies. Artists always ask me what the curators want to see. I'm always confused by that question. They want to see your work represented well. Just be honest with your work and yourself. Hillary Weidman, artist and former gallery manager, Artist Space, New York. What is a standard package? Sometimes galleries ask for a standard package without explaining what that means. If you're too shy to ask, you can assume that they expect 10 to 20 images, printouts and burned on a disc, a resume, press clips, a cover letter, and a SASE, self-addressed stamped envelope. It's common to refer to original artwork as a portfolio, but when people ask you to send over your portfolio, they mean your basic submission materials, not your original work. Same deal if someone asks you to send them your documentation. Always list dimensions as height, width, depth. What are not appropriate to send as images: snapshots, photocopies, shots, brochures, postcards. Only send what they ask for. When a curator visits your studio, your self-addressed stamped
Bang, da boom, pop, writes the sound of that gunshot drop. When that shit drop, you drop. When that gun drop, pop. Non-stop spray chatter paints batter when that gunshot hot. When it hits, you stop. Boy, you far from home. On what side of town are you from? You better get fucking small, he said. Pings make anything small around here, he said. He said there's cracks around here. He said it's bad around here. He said hit this crystal shit right here. No thanks, I got this empty field under the moonlight. The moon's right, even in the dark, I said. You can find something too, to see if you look for it, but it's hard. He said I'm hard. I said I'm cold. Fuck, hit that shit so I can go home. You've made me a taxi for the empty. You're in P block, white nigga. Besides, there's no such thing as a second hand.
Portfolio with a mix of full shots and detail images. If the scale and context of the work is improved.
She distracted me. She said something distracting. I became distracted. Objects are distracted. I was distracted by objects. I felt distracted. I feel more distracted. Someone took a breath and distracted me. His breath was distracting. I felt my body being distracted. They moved their things away from distraction, which distracted me. I fucking hated it. Distraction. My thumb hurts and it's distracting. She said to take a breath. I did. It was distracting. The muffled noises from floors above, the paper, and the computer became distracted. I sweat on myself and notebook, and that's distracted. I can't write because I'm distracted. She moved my hand and made sure. It was distracting. I stopped for a while, but could not for long. It was distracting. It got me thinking. I wrote with one hand and I wrote with the other. It distracted him. He told her he was distracted. I put two hands on the page now. It came much faster. She didn't care. She wasn't paying attention. He was distracted by distraction. He looked at her. She looked away, though. I looked at him. This was distracting. I thought of something to say, to write, to build, but I didn't. It wasn't right, so I distracted myself. My body was distracted. I imagined what I looked like, a slight grin or grin. I made a mistake by being distracted. I was grinning when it happened. I know why. I thought of this before, you know, what it means, or at least she did. They both did. Pens moved and were moving. Mine wasn't. Mine didn't. My pen didn't stop. It was distracting and I wanted it to stop. An ad came on. It was in a different language. I was distracted. It was distracting, but then it went away.
Portfolio with a mix of full shots and detail images. If the scale and context of the work is important, consider selecting a few installation shots. Include current work only, that is, finished pieces from your most recent body of work. If older work is necessary for context, include one or two older pieces. But in the vast majority of cases, current work will bring the strongest knowledge. People want to see you in the studio right now. Learn how to resize them on your computer and adjust the resolution. You should keep at least two sizes of each image on your computer, ready to go. 1. A 300 dpi 8x10 image, which you'll use for printing and sending to the press. 2. A 72 dpi 8x10 image that you can email, put on a disk for submissions, post to your website, see Chapter 4, and show people on your computer. See Studio in a Box.
I sat on an earmark, or it looked like an ear. It wasn't an ear, though, and although it was a comma, it was better as an ear. I wasn't sure how to approach it, or the space these giant commas were inhabiting. It was off to the corner, aside from all the other giant representations of language. Or were they hieroglyphs? Moreover, the children didn't mind this odd separation and grouping and played on them. All of them. All. Them. So did I, though, but I was writing about it and not playing in a sense. I mean, I was writing about playing. It was different. I mean, I was writing about playing, but now it's about the pain in my back, and now the kids are gone. When they left, I scribbled out the last line I wrote and instead focused on the walkie-talkie and what it was saying to the guard. It made me anxious because he stopped and we examined each other while the walkie-talkie was still being held close to his face. I heard noises only, and eventually the kids came back to play. Not the same ones, though. All the while, at the end of this, they were gone again, and so was the guard. I didn't notice when he walked away, though I was looking right at him. Maybe it was the Extreme Board Shop and its changing neon sign that, when coupled with some annoying erotica house music, the sneering blue-collar guy provided ample distraction. There was an orange comma, and I decided to write about it, which is now. And I had to shift my body because it excited me that much. All the kids who were playing at the yellow ampersand were now focusing on this cool orange comma. Now as we speak, it could be perhaps that all the kids are gravitating towards the one able enough, lucky enough, strong enough, or ignored enough while his parents shop, and mesmerized by his efforts to stand on the top of the orange comma and claim it. I left the comma playground and opted to pay $1 for 3 minutes of a massage. It was in the form of an electronic chair, so I wrote, and as I wrote, it struggled. I heard it click as it attempted to hug my legs and gave up, when inevitably it did fully constrict my thighs. It reads as off now, but I stay to write. It felt how I expected it to feel, to sit in a chair that gave you a ready-made massage. At one end, it's the worst 3 minutes that you can get for $1. As a matter of fact, that's probably not true. Privileged piece of paradise primed for failure. Catastrophic and utter gut-wrenching wonder bestowed as progression. Too many titles that teach us that teaching titles is treacherous. Never as many seats never seems to negate the fact they never stop coming. And if it were just that simple and that available, then maybe then that all-engrossing warmth of adolescence and acknowledgement would come to me and say, "Hey man, fuck it." Privileged piece of paradise primed for failure. Catastrophic and utter gut-wrenching wonder bestowed as progression. Too many titles that teach us that teaching titles is treacherous. Never as many seats never seems to negate the fact they never stop coming. And if it were just that simple and that available, then maybe then that all-engrossing warmth of adolescence and acknowledgement would come to me and say, "Hey man, fuck it." Privileged piece of paradise primed for failure. Catastrophic and utter gut-wrenching wonder bestowed as progression. Too many titles that teach us that teaching titles is treacherous. Never as many seats never seems to negate the fact they never stop coming. And if it were just that simple and that available, then maybe then that all-engrossing warmth of adolescence and acknowledgement would come to me and say, "Hey man, fuck it." Privileged piece of paradise primed for failure. Catastrophic and utter gut-wrenching wonder bestowed as progression.
I fucking hate rain.
Too many titles that teach us that teaching titles is treacherous.
Makes me feel like
Never as many seats never seems to negate the fact they never stop coming. And if it were just that simple and that available, then maybe then that all-engrossing warmth of adolescence and acknowledgement would come to me and say, "Hey man, fuck it."
Which wasn't so fucking depressing though. Why the fuck do I still smoke these things? It's like I can't wait to rush to my demise. It's like I'm force feeding my own death through the form of cancer. At least I get to laugh about it now. Won't be too funny in a couple of years, I guess. I wonder what she sees when she sees me. I wonder if she knows how I see her when I look at her. I wonder if I'm anything close to the expectation she has for me, because when she looks in my eyes, it kind of seems that I'm perfect to her, which I'm so far from in my mind. I wonder if I'll ever be able to measure up. Oh, fuck it. Maybe I'm just thinking too much.